Hello and welcome to the Ireland on the Fly podcast about the people and places of fly fishing in Ireland. This time last week, the Ireland fly fishing team was in the Czech Republic getting ready for their shot at the World Fly Fishing Championships, and with a very respectable 6th place last year in France, hopes were high for this year's team that they might even medal, something that has never been before by an Irish team at the World Championships. Team captain Dec Conlon joins us to tell us how Ireland fared, and we'll find out from Dec how they got on in a few minutes' time. But first, Tom, surely the Mayfly must be over.
It's getting there, it's stumbling over the line, right? It's just like sort of, been helped over the line by the spectators. Yeah, look, out today, in a place there was about 24 gulls moving and fly hatching. And that was poor. Moved back to another spot. There was about 4 gulls moving, and we started moving fish to dries. But and it often happens this time of the year that, and it's a great little phrase from Ken Kennedy from the Orkney Islands.
Oh yes, singular, yeah.
He said it to me once in Boat and Harry. Fish weren't hooking any of the fish, and he just went, "Nah." He says, "There's no malice in them." That's the way they are. The rises today, and there was kind of. It was like you've had a full plate of chips, right? And there's two,
and you're picking at one or two, like it's just because they're there in front of you, like exactly. You're not really hungry.
Yeah, that's it exactly. So yeah,
actually, talk to me about that. Sorry, just talk to me about that. The gulls, is that like a bit like, because they say when you're on the coast, when you see the birds, that's where the feeding's going on. That's where you target. So tell me.
Oh yeah, that's it. That's it. So I'd be looking. You see, people say, "Oh, if you see swallows out, there's flies there." But one mayfly will sustain a swallow for maybe 15 minutes or whatever. But when you see gulls out, they need a lot of flies to be hovering and to be expending the energy getting them. So they want to be picking up a lot. So if you see more than 2 or 3 gulls moving, there's generally going to hatch a fly on.
That won't put the fish off in any way, like in the sense of the trout see the gulls around.
I've never found that, but I know. Remember a guide used to guide here in the Carb saying that years ago. No, you'll never catch fish under feeding gulls. Now, I would say, all right, I should look into that more. Maybe take more observation of that, because quite often it's one or the other side of them. But I think I have caught them in under it. But you'd imagine the gulls might put them off.
Yeah. So when you saw the gulls, do you head over?
Oh, straight away. Straight away, drop the sandwich, everything, cup of tea out the side. Seriously.
Hook a few birds.
Yeah, but and like, to be honest, seagulls will often catch a fish. There's no doubt about that. They give the game away. But it was interesting today. There was better action where there was smaller hatch of fly, but there was still a hatch of fly. Do you know what I mean? There was 3 or 4 gulls. But I to be honest, nearly at this stage, I prefer if the gulls stopped working. I prefer that, because it's like the prolonged passing of somebody. It's just waiting for the news.
It's like, Jesus, give it up, like, for God's sake, like.
Yeah.
And tell me this, actually, the gulls in those kind of numbers, is it primarily the mayfly hatch that brings them into?
They're duck flies.
They will,
you see them on the duck fly and the olives. Yeah. When you see them on the duck fly, it's a good hatch of duck fly.
Yeah, because that's the thing I want to ask, like, does it have to be a good hatch to kind of interest the gulls? Like,
but once it's a good hatch and you see them going, they're really good.
You never know. It might hopefully be over.
Yeah, we'll see. Tomorrow could be a great day.
Yeah, you're probably sick of it at this stage. Like.
No, I love it.
Will you get out fishing yourself at all?
Do you know how many days I fished this year? Twice. I fished twice this year, yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And have you any graw to get out, like, during the mayfly, like, if you had a chance?
Oh yeah, you do. Of course you do. But like,
I know you're flat to the mat now.
Yeah, what can you do? So I am looking forward to doing a bit of fishing myself. I really am now.
Next few weeks.
Next few weeks. Like Kunu Day, hopefully now. Yeah. You've fished more than me this year.
Jesus, that's saying something.
No, fair play to you.
I've caught more fish in this year because of my bass session. Most people catch it a season, like, oh, stop. And I got actually a message from Jason the other night, and he was saying there must have been about 80 this time. He says it was just insane.
Are you serious?
Insane. Like, I was like,
are you not raring to go back?
Yes and no. I don't know. It's kind of
Plus,
$50, whatever. I need harder quarry to, I'll go back to my salmon day.
Yeah, you don't have to think far enough for that.
This sums up my life and my attitude to life. I'd rather the kind of fruitless struggle where there's no reward at the end of it. It's a bit of self-flagellation. You know what I mean? I don't like those easy sessions, of 50 baths. Am I revealing too much? Give me the pain and the torture.
Yeah.
No reward. Yeah. Good Catholic. That's what I am. I'm a good Catholic.
Definitely. So come here. Does it not get ruined then when you do catch a salmon?
It happens so rarely. It just... It's like,
what's your ratio? Well, wait, it happens so rarely. Your ratio this year is 1 and 2, isn't it? How many days have you gone salmon fishing?
I've been to the Blackwater this year. Have I been to the Blackwater? I don't think I've been to the Blackwater. Jeez, I'll have to rectify.
So you're 1 for 1.
See,
no, I'm telling you,
100% record.
You're converting.
I know. See, the problem for me is it's triathlon season, so that kicks in now. So that's taking up a lot of time.
Salmon fishing and triathlon.
You see, exactly, exactly. Exactly.
Jeez, Derek, get a grip, will you?
The more pain, the better. I need therapy, I think. Therapy or lots of pints, one or the other. Anyway, speaking of painful, let's get back to this week's guest, Dec. I'm only messing, Dec. To find out how Ireland's week at the 2025 World Fly Fishing Championships went.
The best place to start is probably, it was a respectable performance. We'll get into that in more detail in a while. It'll probably give a better insight into the way this team thinks. We put the team together for this. Getting together for practice was difficult, but the lads did do a lot together. And these were a bunch of lads that I trusted very early on because I knew Kieran from the time I was in Spain with him. I know Sean Dempsey since he first sat into a boat with me, maybe as a 19-year-old, maybe 10 years ago, at his first senior competition. Michael Drynan, I know him a long time through Taffy. Joe Quinn's a good friend of mine. Brian Russell, who was one of the first guys I controlled in a competition, and I admired how good of a competitive angler he was. And that was the first time I was actually kind of considering competition fishing after watching Brian Russell. Now, Brian's my age, so the credit to him. He's still soldiering strong. So when we eventually got out there, we got to the hotel. I just felt it in the hotel. No, this is it. This is more like it. I know all these guys.
Do you mean in the sense of, we're in with a good chance here?
Yes, always believed that. I actually would go as far as getting carried away thinking that if the cards had fallen slightly different, we'd have gone into day 5 clutching at a 3rd, 4th or 5th place.
Right.
So we got out there. I kept the 2 Cork lads together rooming. The other 3 boys, that we had the most fantastic rooms. We decided to stay in the competition hotel. I don't like this moving around the country. I think it's disruptive. So we booked into the competition accommodation. So we were well settled in. I
think that's a good point, Tech, actually. Sorry for cutting in on you there, but I think that's a really good point because you don't have this big transition just before the competition.
Yeah, and I mean, after doing captaincy before and being vice captain, I knew this time that I just wanted things a little bit different, the way I wanted them. I kind of decided I don't really care what the team think here. This is the way we're going to do it. You always consider the team, but what's wrong with staying in better accommodation and not having to move and losing a whole day? Because I knew that Kieran Riley and Sean and Dennis, they were keen to tie flies, like hundreds of them, these guys mean business. And the other thing was, about 2 years ago, I had in my mind, there was only one man I wanted to guide us. I had competed against him a couple of times in Worlds. He has literally very little English, literally none. But I had no doubt this was the man to go for. And it was Antonin Pesic. I'd say you competed against him, Tom. This man was This man was on that Czech team that won about 6 goals. He has individual goals, he has medals. He's European champion. He's medals everywhere. He's fallen over medals, I think, say, in the house. He's that many of them. But his understanding of fishing meant that the English language was irrelevant. He could get his message across on the river. And that was very apparent on day one. My lads are very fussy, particularly Sean, Kieran, Mike Drynell, and Dennis chipped in there. Brian Russell, far more casual, but they were learning a lot from this man. He was able to explain to them what water to avoid and what water not to avoid. He also started to delve into the stocking, and that you're going to have 2 completely different mindsets when you're out fishing. If you got beats with stocked fish, you could not ignore them. And then if it dried up, he had the boys well schooled on how to go after chub, dace, things like that on the edge, whitefish. So it was a very interesting trip. Like there was a lot to learn from it. There's a lot that the lads will bring away from it. You bring them off and you try and hope that you can mold them into something that can get you a result. But this time we had the planets aligned and 5 very, very, very good anglers, very talented anglers, and very different anglers qualified.
Which is probably a strength because you're kind of, you want a well-rounded team, I suppose, from skill sets and personalities as well, don't you?
Yeah, we had Kieran Riley was born probably in a lake. Now I know he met his mum out there in Czech Republic, and I don't think he was born in a lake. But I'll say that, so I'm sorry if she takes offence. But he's a great lake angler. Sean Dempsey, again with Frank, his dad, the same thing, fantastic lake angler. Got transformed over to river angling by Matt Campbell from Dundalk, who created many Irish champions from you. And then you go to Michael Drynell. I mean, he just, again, born to fish. All he wants to do is fish. He thinks about fishing, the work he puts into taffy. Incredible. Brian Russell, he's been fishing for Ireland since, I don't know, the 90s maybe. And Dennis O'Leary blew me away. I didn't know Dennis. And I think in the first video with Joe, I think I told people to watch Dennis O'Leary because I had practiced a little bit with him. He was really clever. He's a really clever study. Yeah. You think you're coaching him and you realise halfway through the practice session, he's actually coaching you. What were you doing there, Dennis? How'd you get that, lad? That kind of thing. Really good angler. Great angler.
So maybe take us through maybe just briefly kind of each of the days. So you went in ahead thinking, well, if the stars align, we could actually be in with a shot here. So how did the first day go?
The first day, we'd done all our stuff. Joe Quinn was with me. The lads had a preference. This was probably the one thing I did succumb to. The lads had a preference that we definitely did the first couple of days on the lake, me and Joe. And that suited us because Joe was doing his documentary stuff, his YouTube work. And of course, clever man Joe too, as Tom would have known Joe down through the years. Great knowledge of angling and great knowledge of summing things up. But we went into the first day absolutely bouncing with hope. And my God, it crumbled.
Sucker punch.
We didn't know what the beats were like. And by God, did we not get any of them. We were sick. It was a quiet dinner table. And I started to think, no, this could happen. What happened to England today could happen to us tomorrow. And what happened to us today could happen to England tomorrow. I said, boys, we'll get them tomorrow.
And just to remind people, so after the first day, USA actually were first, Slovakia second, England were third, and Ireland were 24th out of 31.
Yeah, we were in trouble. We were a long way back.
And why was it, Declan? Was it just...
You had a couple of really bad draws, didn't you?
Yeah, well, for argument's sake, Dennis O'Leary went first on the lake. Dennis would admit himself, the lake's not his thing, but Dennis did okay. He got 8 fish. 9 fish, I think, came to him and he boated 8 of them. Can't argue with that. Kieran, Kieran's top class. He's top class. And I knew when he came 23rd in the session. The thing going into this that people have to understand, you hate to talk about beats, but the thing going into this, I knew exactly what each of these guys could do with a beat. I knew down to a fish or two what these lads could do to a beat. When I started to go further into competition, I was predicting it to Joe what each angler was going to get. And 80 to 90% of the time I was right. Wow. So I knew what they were capable of. And Kieran got a bad beat. Mike got a beat that was a little bit confusing because the stockies now were new. We didn't know. The river was a little bit high and he didn't find them quick enough with the lures, but he found them with the nymphs. So when he eventually found them, maybe 45 minutes were gone and then he clocked up 16. He kind of rescued the round. Brian, the same thing, had to kind of rescue a round, but he did a great job with a streamer where he had kind of knee-depth water, a long straight, and he just banged 12 out with a streamer.
Who's that, Brian or Dan?
That was Brian Russell, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Then we get on to Sean on the Atavia. Now, I'm saying, am I a bit biased? I don't know. I'm saying Sean's going to go up there and he's going to start being first, second, and third in sessions. And he blanks.
Oh.
And I even wondered, was he out in the field? That he wasn't even in the river at all. Because you didn't expect him to catch one in the field if there was one out there. And you can imagine, Sean Dempsey comes in with 32 place points and you're feeling, oh my God. God, what am I going to say? But I had Joe with me and Joe said, Declan, you know what to say to them. We'll have the dinner, then we'll talk. But during the dinner, Kieran is kind of, he's infectiously optimistic to a point of madness. And
we all need somebody like that in our lives.
Yeah, he's incredibly optimistic. And he kind of said, we'll get them tomorrow, Dec. And he has this, it's hard to explain. I can't figure it out. Yeah, no, he gets it. He knows what I'm talking. He knows how I'm feeling. He knows how the rest of the team are feeling. And we went away. And after having a chat, the only way was up, as Yaz used to say. And so we went to bed to move into the next.
When you think of it, though, Dec, was there much else you could say?
There probably wasn't. Because it was our first day. There was kind of not a pure understanding on what the beats were going to be made up of. So we just said, you'll know more tomorrow because now you can start to compare beats.
Yeah.
So we moved into...
Sorry, before we move on to B2, with regards to Sean, was it just was it a bum draw on the beat?
It was a bad draw on the beat, but an angler came on the next day and got 8 off it.
Right.
I get the sense you can't really afford to lose a day if you want to be in the medals. Is that right?
Well, you saw where we finished. I go through it at the end. No, I knew. I did say to Joe, bar something absolutely stratospheric, we're out of the medals.
Yeah.
We're out of that battle.
So now it's right.
You possibly might get away with one. That's where I lead into day 2, which goes into day 3.
Okay.
So we go into day 2 and Sean's out in the lake. He had a kind of, we were trying to figure out the lake. All the fish were up towards the dam and moving down towards the middle. But we went out on...
Presumably they're all stockies.
All stockies.
Yeah, grand. Yeah.
But by the time we got there on day 2, the fish had all moved down to the top of the lake where the river runs in. So everything we'd learned on day 1 was now irrelevant, except that we were pulling lures, mostly pink, orange lures, pulling an orange blob maybe with them, pulling black lures. You know, the lads were kind of changing to try and mix it up a little bit. Sean went through a stage where he got a great run of fish and then it just dried up on him. And he was close enough to Ollie Bassett. And Ollie was banging them out still, and Sean was going in behind them and not getting them. But he got 11 fish, but he got fish good enough to squeeze a 5th place rather than a 10th place. So that was positive. Dennis went out in the river, got a reasonably good beat, a pretty good beat, and got 20 fish. Now we had a 7th. Norway had been 4th the day before, so we knew it was a good beat. So 7th was good because Dennis was only warming up. Kieran had a difficult beat that Luxembourg got 6 on the day before, and he got 15 fish.
Right.
So now he was up and running. He'd 7th. Mike had a beat that Japan had got, and we were wondering whether did Japan struggle? It wasn't a great beat, but he dug out a 12th. He probably dug out 6 place points better than most anglers did on that beat. And Brian had a 20th. Difficult enough beat, didn't get on. But when you combined all those scores together, we shot up the table to 14th, I think. Was
14th, yeah.
Yeah. Now all of a sudden, that night you're having the dinner and you're saying, right, if that happens again tomorrow. And what was strange about that was the teams above us, they got a session like we had gotten the day before, which dropped them back down.
Yeah.
And we leapfrogged, as you saw, from 24th down to 14th is 10 places.
Yeah, 10 places.
Yeah. So
which is a phenomenal jump. I know it's only after 2 days.
It's huge
phenomenal.
jump.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, whoa, if even anything 70, 80% of that happens the next day, we're in with this shout to be there at the last day to fight for a bronze, maybe. Because some of the countries up above us were dropping points as well. So yeah, after session 2, we were feeling fairly good. And probably the fascinating thing about that day, even for entertainment, was a crowd had started to gather down at the lake where Sean was. And Rennie Coops, do you know Rennie Coops?
Yeah.
Tom, with the blonde hair like you.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
About your age.
Yeah. What, 42?
But Rennie put on an absolute masterclass, and you could see Ollie Bassett was catching a fish.
Yeah,
Rennie'd get a fish. But Rennie, I think, used to be in a rock band one time, and he has the long blonde locks. And if you see the old pictures of him, he's like the guy that was in The Hitchhiker. What was that actor?
Rutger Howard.
And and we were all cheering on the shore at this stage. And he said, "You want me to strip faster? You want me to figure it there?" You know, he was lapping it up. But unfortunately for poor old Rennie, Ollie is like he's a black mamba. Like he just the New Zealand guy. He broke Rennie's heart and just pipped him. You know, the both. Yeah. But that was probably the highlight of the week. You know, really good stuff.
So you were on a bit of a high then after the end of the second day, thinking, all right, we've re-established ourselves now, onwards.
And at this stage, I'm starting to see how into fishing all these 5 lads are. They're into fishing the way I always was, the way Tom is. It's passionate for them, but what's also passionate for them is to compete at the highest level. They know they were capable of doing it.
To prove yourself.
Yeah, and that's when I could say, these boys aren't phased. They're going to keep going. They really aren't phased. They're more angry with themselves, but it wasn't. I don't think it was their fault. But they were determined to go out the next day and keep it going. And they even said things like, "And even if we get the bad beats, let's not drop a place. Let's just try and hang there, you know." And went out in session 3. Unfortunately, that's what happened. Was session 3 was kind of a kick in the stomach. Another run of bad beats. They dug it out the very best they could. Brian had a tough time on the lake. Mike, tough beat. Kieran had an excellent session with 31 fish, which got us a 5th. And Sean had an excellent session, which I went through with him. I was with him to try and, because the Devil Stone's a bit tricky. to make sure he kept going and didn't get caught up with time. So he got through the whole beat. Oh, masterly fished. And even when we got to the end, we knew there was a bit at the top and a bit at the bottom. And he got 2 bonus fish at the top, 2 bonus fish at the bottom. It was the perfect round. And it got him a 5th. You know, 8 that had thrown up maybe 9th and 10th for other guys. Sean got a 5th out. You know, just to show his quality.
He really bounced back, didn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Didn't he? Fantastic. Yeah. Really good. Yeah.
Now, I gave a 10-15 minute spiel on health and safety because I was the reserve. And the last thing I felt like doing was fishing. And the Devil's Stones is absolutely lethal.
The clue's in the name, is it?
Yeah, clue's in the name. I didn't want to give out to Sean, but his father and mum was there. I think his mum ran away. I mean, thank God she didn't see the worst of the stuff. So, but, oh my God. Did you see some of it on, Joe has a few clips there.
No, describe it to us. Yeah. Describe it to us, Declan. What makes it so bad?
The rocks and the falling around and he diving underwater to net fish and all that madness and craziness. And I was to find out the next day that Kieran Riley was probably worse. And he said he was glad I wasn't there to watch his.
Right.
But great stuff, great entertainment. I know people might give out that it's a bit dangerous, but
it's a sport. Come on, it's a sport.
And, great enjoyment. Joe Quinn was there with the camera having an absolute beano, you know. He was loving it. And but we went back and kind of held our place. And at this stage, Poland are really motoring on the rivers. And England are motoring. Sean Brooks was flying it. Howard Croston was flying it. Sean's popular with the Irish lads. He's married to an Irish girl, and he's a good lad. Yeah, he's great.
And he's fished over here a lot. I fished with Sean. He's come over. His dad has been coming here since the 90s. Yeah, and he's come with his dad fishing here in Doors.
Yeah, he's kind of one of us. Yeah, he is.
Can you not get him a passport? No.
No, but what I did, and I don't care who insults me, was I gave him an Irish badge and I took an English badge off him. Yeah. That's friendship.
So after the end of the third day, Declan, it was Poland in first, England second, Italy third, France fourth, USA fifth, Czech Republic sixth, Slovakia seventh, South Africa eighth, and then Belgium ninth, Finland 10th, and then we were down in 15th. So we dropped one place.
Yeah, we dropped a place, and so we were kind of feeling, the next day. It'll be better the next day.
Can I ask you, actually, Declan, at that stage, you kind of know, you're not going to be hitting, the heights, how do you just keep them going, stop them going just through the motions? Is it personal pride? Do you set them targets, go, well, let's get top 10, or what do you do?
This is where we get into the mental side of things. These guys are mentally tough. Sean is 29 and he has a very close link with Kieran. They won't be bested. Mike Drinan doesn't know the word bested, neither does Brian Russell. Dennis was new to the scene and he was soaking up all this fantastic stuff around him. They're relentless. These guys wanted to do something. They wanted to just keep going and see what happened. Their mental strength is group. As I say, Sean kind of is a bit like a leader in the room for a young lad. People ask his opinion. I ask his opinion. You'd be silly not to, because he has a great fishing brain and he's very open. He discusses everything openly. And bit by bit, it was rallying. It was becoming like, that backs to the wall thing?
Yes.
No, we're going to go away here and they're going to have something to say about us. Like three of them were on a team that was sixth last year in France. But this was different, and this was a different challenge because of the stockies, and they wanted to show that they had so many strings to their bow, which they had. And so we went out there on the next day, and I said, Joe, these guys are going to do something at some stage. And what they did the next day was, again, did another good session, but we didn't really go crazy up the table, but they kept a really steady session going. Except an absolute disaster happened for Kieran Riley. Now, I looked at the beat. The Otavia was a tough river, and it had been going up and down. And the beat that Kieran got, a Belgian, I think, got about 15 place points off it. And I said, Kieran, I think he's better than definitely four of the Belgian anglers. There's one other very good lad there, but I think Kieran can probably get 10 or 11 place points off this beat. And the river went chocolate brown to red. And some parts of the river cleared earlier up the top. Kieran's didn't clear, or he didn't fluke a fish. And he got 2 place points, and it was a hammer blow because
I see that it fished nearly half the anglers on that session blanked,
and Howard Croston
blanked,
sitting really pretty there to make a challenge, and devastating for him, I'd say. I met him when he came into the hotel, and I didn't even want to go near him because you could see in his face he was devastated. That's one thing.
What was it? A fall of rain? Was it a flash flood? What was it?
A very, very heavy fall of rain, and it just coloured up the whole river. Yeah. It was. I think Joe filmed some of the rain there. In one of his videos, we were driving along, and it was just. It was hopping off the road, So now you're stuck going into session 5, and you're saying, like, France now have taken the lead at this stage.
Yeah, so day 4, it was France first, Poland. They're kind of maintaining it, aren't they? It was between France and Poland. I saw England dropped actually from 2nd to 8th.
Yeah.
That was a big drop for them.
England were out with the medals, and barring, again, something massive, like winning the last day was the only thing that was going to get them back there. France were doing the business on the lake. Poland were there, and you're saying to yourself, they're only 15 to 20 points off France going into the last day, if it was even that. And they've been rubbish on the lake, Poland. So it was obvious to me the best team on the rivers at this point, after session 4, was Poland. They were doing the business on the rivers. Pierre Kuntz was basically doing the business all the time, and Gregoire, but Poland were actually the best team on the rivers by the looks of it at that stage, because otherwise they wouldn't have been within.
I remember looking at that though, from day 3 to day 4, I think it was a 33-point swing. France made up. France were 23 points behind Poland after day 3, and suddenly they're 15 points. So that's 38 actually.
Yeah.
And it was just like, I was looking at the whole thing, and I was going, oh my, France are out of it. Well, they're there, France are out of it. And the next thing after for session 4, you go, they've just, slipped into fucking overdrive, just moved into the passing lane, and suddenly it's like, watching the 800 meters. They're coming around the bend, and like, geez, they're 4 or 5 meters in front, like,
Yeah.
Can they just hold it into the final stretch, like,
They always find a way.
We're talking about it again because we're talking about Ireland, but Pierre Kuntz just seems to be a machine. But anyway,
absolute machine.
Yeah.
And we're going into day 5, and I have 2 things in my head that Ireland, can we be the best team today? Can we get the draws?
Yeah.
And you're not really thinking about the best team. You're thinking, can we get the draws? And these lads show everyone in the world what they're capable of. And as the beats start coming in, I looked at them and I said to Joe, I think we've good beats. Now, we also had a man on the sidelines, I already named him, our guide, who was able to basically, with a photographic mind, be able to tell everyone what every beat was like. I bet you never got that with a captain or with a guide.
Jeez, no.
It was
like where the river was.
It was like you going out to putter holes, and you couldn't.
I might be able to do that for a lad indoors now.
Indoors. You won't tell anyone because you're.
Well, no, it depends though. Anyway, go on about the other lad.
So they went out there, and I kind of put the phone down into the pocket and into the waders, and I said, Joe, we're going to go fishing today. There's nothing more we can do. And I stopped fishing when the phone started beeping and the excitement as the scores start coming in. And I just saw all these great scores coming in. And it didn't dawn on me that these scores were so good, because I just kind of gotten carried away with how happy to go out on such a high note. It didn't dawn on me that we're probably the best team in the world that day. Yeah, we were the best team in the world that day. We won the session.
One session, hands down, yeah.
And I don't think that's been done at the Worlds. I think it was done once back in the day. It could have been at Europe.
Was it? Yeah.
I think it might have been, but this is at a different level. Like, they're fishing against pros, and everyone then in the lobby was talking about Ireland. And now everyone kind of knew. I talked to a lot of captains, and I said, boys, watch out. If we get a fair rub of the green on beats, you'll be looking at our tails. And that's what happened.
It must have been very gratifying, Declan, that they proved to themselves, to you, to the rest of the world, what they were capable of. It might have taken till the final day, but they got there and proved it. Yeah, and I can tell you a few things that are of interest. The lake, I discussed it with them afterwards, and look, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. There's lake anglers in there that are off the scale. We got 80 place points on the lake. Now, I pointed out to them about what we did on the lake. There's probably a couple of sulky lips looking at me. But I said, boys, if we'd have done on the lake what I thought we were going to do, we'd have been 35 to 40 place points better. Now, are you looking at the table there? I'm trying to think. Yeah.
Where would that have brought us?
We were 10, so we got 346. So what are you saying?
Take 40. Take 40.
That would have put us into 6th above England.
Yeah. We didn't perform on the lake. Now, just say you have England there. South Africa got 80 place points. Australia got 45 place points. They're only a few points ahead of us, 5 points and 7 points.
Yeah.
Finland had 77 points on the lake. England had 31. England were the best team on the lake, I think. I have my correction right. So catching England, it wasn't going to happen because England were so good on the lake. But if we had done anything, even in the 20 place points better, we were just behind England.
Yeah.
Poland had 85 place points on the lake and France had 36.
Yeah.
That was the difference, basically, was it?
That is the difference.
We lost it on the lake.
And is that where France won it?
Yeah, Poland lost it on the lake.
Poland lost it on the lake.
Yeah.
We could have done much better if we were stronger on the lake. But for Poland, France won it on the lake. Incredible.
Actually, why do you think France won it on the lake? Why are France so good on the lake? Is it because they're just so bloody good at anglers?
Yeah, some people say they're not all that. I don't buy it. I'm never listening to that. Too long looking at them. They're better than everyone else. And I'll give you another interesting statistic that there was something done out by Competition Fly Fishing, I think it was. This is really interesting. Let's see if I can... They're doing beat predictions, lads. Now, how accurate are they? For argument's sake, if you're predicting that, lad had the best beat, say 3 very average anglers could go on to the beats in those sessions, and then a top class guy could come along and the beat probably wasn't fished properly, so it might give a skewed result. But Pierre Kuntz drew as beats draw the ranking. There was a ranking of beats, and Pierre Kuntz was drawn as the sixth. He got the 6th most beneficiary draws. So he was
in total, or just on one session?
He was ranked. So the number 1 ranked angler for beats, who got the results of all the beats show, was Andres Santa Maria Garcia of Spain, and a Mongolian drew the 2nd most preferable beats, and a German drew the 3rd. So now you're looking at. So
but that's 6 out of. What's the total number there?
Well, the total numbers, it goes all the way down to
That's over the 5 sessions.
Over the 5 sessions. So
in the 31 beats in each, apart from the boats, apart from the lake. So 4 sessions, because there's no beneficiary to a draw in the lake because you're all in the boat. So in the 4 sessions, there are 31 beats in each. So 4 by 30, that's 124. So Pierre Kuntz sorry, I say that. He actually got number 6 out of 124.
He got, like, the beats are ranked on that.
Yeah.
As you explained it quite well there, the beats are ranked. And Devin Olsen got, say, 96. So you kind of go, I'm looking for Dave Archie wherever he is, but poor old Dave Archie.
Dave didn't have a good session.
Oh my God. And what an angler. Like, he's magic. But the guy that I always feel sorry for the most, I just love him. He's such a lovely man, is Gregoire from France.
Mm.
And he was down a bit in the rankings, but he just proves he was 26th. But he was only 6 or 7 place points away from Pierre going into the last day.
Yeah, I see that, yeah.
I think that's Gregoire's 4th silver in the last 6 or 7 years. You know, he's just...
Yeah, always the nearly man.
I was talking to him afterwards.
Yeah.
I didn't say too much on it, but he's so gracious.
Yeah.
So gracious. A great fella.
Did Pierre Kuntz win it last year?
He's done 3 in a row.
3 in a row.
Has that ever been done?
Never been done. Pascal Cognard.
Pascal got 3 in 3, but in 4 or 5 years, I think.
Yeah.
So 3 in a row. Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible.
It's phenomenal, though.
Unbelievable.
It is really,
And you just...
I mean, like, for example, let's say the Mongolian who got number 2 in the beat stakes, like, he didn't figure, I'm sure, in the individual ranking,
So for what I get from what you're saying, Declan, is that if you look at that rankings, is that if you're a good, one of the top anglers and you get a good ranking overall, like Pierre Kuntz did, your chances, whereas you could be a brilliant angler, you get a low ranking overall in the beats and chances are tough. Like,
now, can I just ask one thing though?
Yeah.
Sorry, no, because I love this rabbit hole. So the guys who work out these rankings for the beats is a bit like, that predictor,
XG.
The Arsenal were going to win the league by 300 points or whatever.
Expected goals, isn't that new?
Yeah.
XG, yeah.
So, but how good do you think their ranking system is? Would you?
I'd rank it 6th out of the current ranking systems.
Well, I think Howard Croston made a point. You can't really judge one beat. Take one beat that went brown because of the clay and the mud. Doesn't that now skew things a little? Or if Tom, Doc, and Dara and Declan fished 3 beats before Pierre Kuntz, we'd be giving him a free run, wouldn't we?
We wouldn't leave him with the thing to catch. We'd have it cleared.
Dara would probably walk up and down the middle of the beat, kicking the stones and everything.
100%. Kick the ball downstream.
I'll be watching you, Dec.
Yeah. I tend to fall around in the river.
So just to recap then, so the final standings, let's start with the teams, and I have the list of it here. So it was France 1 again.
Yeah.
Poland 2nd. USA 3rd.
Yeah, they hung around all week, didn't they?
They did actually, yeah. They loitered with intent.
Was that their highest placing at the Worlds, or?
No.
Second. They got a second, haven't they?
Oh, did they get it? Well, they were 3rd actually in America as well. You're right. And I think they might have been 2nd or 3rd out in Bosnia.
So
individuals was. So
they're a strong force, like.
They're a strong force.
They are now, aren't they?
Yeah. We know some of the young lads too now. Jack Arnott, Cody Burkhoff, Michael Bradley's a very good angler. Devin is one of the old hands and that. But there's a changing in the guard there. Jack and Cody are two dynamic anglers. So they're
young. So they'll be here. They might be around for a while. Like
these are young lads like Sean and Kieran and fellas like that.
Yeah. The Czechs came in 4th. Will they be disappointed about that because it was a home?
They are gutted.
You mentioned there was something about that. Was there a bit of a kick up about Stockton or something?
There was. I'd say what happened there was there might have been a little bit of pressure to showcase the rivers. which took
Right.
away Czech's advantage. Let's be honest, if that competition was about whitefish, are the Czechs going to win it? Possibly.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't look happy all week. They really didn't.
No.
No.
Yeah, Lubos didn't do that great either.
No.
No, Lubos Rosas.
They really struggled.
Actually, you mentioned them there, and I did want to ask you about it. The whitefish, did that, like, what was that like? You know, chub, dace.
Yeah, the dace we're used to them because I have a lot of them in my river, and we know how to catch them. The chub are a little bit different. You have to, like, I spent a little bit of time with Anton and doing a bit with him, and he'd get 3, and I then might rise 1 because he just knew what he was at. But you have to hit the bank literally with the dry flies. So you have 2 dry flies, and you have to hit the bank literally with the dry flies. And the chub are just lying there waiting for stuff to fall off the bank or the trees.
Right.
And they take a little bit slower as well. So we were a little bit quick on the draw at times. But no, the boys got a good rap on it. Lads started catching chub as the week went on. I started to catch a few of them. But
and were the chub big? Were they the bigger fish?
yeah, some of the lads got some bigger chub. I even got a chub on the last day on a lure. You know, probably an hour and a half. But the lads got a couple of bigger ones. You know, bigger ones also. You know.
And then, can I ask another thing? What was that thing that Scott Nellens caught that was 800 centimeters? What was it?
He had a really bad beat, and he could see some pike. And he said to me afterwards, my competition's over. I'm going for the biggest fish competition. He got one of them.
That was a pike.
Got 3 of them.
He got 3 of the pike.
He got 3 of them.
He'd only 5 fish. He'd a tough draw. He was 29th or something like that. He'd only 5 fish in it.
He was making the best of his championships. I told him, I said, you're in this next belly, Scott. Like, where are you at? He said, no, I'll be getting the piece of wood, he said. And he got his piece of wood. Fair play.
Fair play. Fair play. Looking down to England, 6th. They happy?
They were very good. They were very, very good. And England have a history of being good in the Czech Republic. They have all that information stored from before.
Now, they were 2nd after the 3rd day, and obviously they dropped, so it was a bit of a recovery. But do you think overall, are they thinking, what might have been?
Yeah, and Sean Brooks, Howard, and I think it's James Atkinson, and Scott wasn't getting good beats. Scott was suffering with beats. Yeah. You know, he's a lot better than that. And
I think the 3rd day done them though, didn't it?
Oh, the 3rd day done them. The 3rd day for them was like our first day. If they could have just hung in there, you know. Because Harold Croston came out in the last day, and
he was 2nd on the lake, wasn't it? And he did another 2nd place as well. Like, he was doing, you know, if you look at the individuals, like, he still figured in the top. I don't know, what was it?
He was 11th overall.
He was 11th overall with the blank.
Wow.
You know.
Yeah, and that was the Dirty River, and who knows? Harold Croston was more than capable of winning sessions or coming in the top 3 sessions, and if that hadn't happened, who knows?
Well, and so we finished 10th, Declan.
We finished 10th.
So
we're happy.
Yeah, you would have taken that. Would you have taken that after day 1? Probably.
After day 1, yes. It was said in the room, there was lads saying, look, we can still get top 10. I remember Kieran, I think was the first one, said, lads, we can still get top 10. Like I said, he was very optimistic, and it just kind of stoked us up, stoked the guy.
Wasn't it great? He was right.
He was right. He was bang on.
And in fairness, we went from 15th on day 4 to 10th, like, so that's...
Yeah. Oh, it was a great show. And even Kieran was disappointed with the lake. There was no one doing anything wrong on the lake. They just couldn't figure it out. They'd take you and they wouldn't take you.
But sometimes, you know, I will say that when you arrive at a stocky lake, okay, and you have to figure it out, certain teams will get a better handle because they're very fixated on one thing. And certain, you know, everybody's going to catch fish. As you can see, there were no blanks on the lake. But, you know, certain teams got into it. And, you know, there is that element of luck in it, and it could be a couple of patterns, it could be a different method. Whereas, and here's the thing that happens with stockies, other methods are still working, right? Do you get what I mean? So you're still catching. Okay, you've got 8 because your method has got 8, But let's say Pierre Kuntz, he found a method that's got 22. So what do you do? Do you go, oh well, do I drop this method and search for another method? You see,
Yeah.
and that's the drawback of stocky, freshly stocked ponds like that, and you see it as well, like Stillwater angling as well. In the banks competitions, for example, certain methods work, but certain methods beat everything else hands down.
Stumble on it.
Yeah, you do. You can stumble on it. That's it.
It's nearly easier if you're blanking, Tom, is it? Because then that's
if
not
you're
working.
blanking, fuck. Oh, sorry. I'm leaving that. Get done
Look,
of that.
Is flock the word for wet?
Vishan flocking you.
Tom, you're a disgrace.
Thanks, Tech.
So, just looking at then the Irish anglers, Sean Dempsey, final day, 14th overall.
And I just mentioned Howard. I mean, Sean, to do that with the blank, that is just great stuff.
The flag starts later on. Sean's sitting back and he's contemplating there with his dad and things like that. And I said to Sean, do you know, if you had got 14 place points on the Atava and not got 32 and won the lake, you'd have medalled. You just do that to, wind them up a little bit.
What did you just call me?
but like, that's the small margins. That's where he was.
Yeah.
That's where he was.
And because he came from, I was just looking at 32nd after the fourth session.
Yeah.
That's some performance.
He's a great angler. She's a great angler.
Yeah.
What was the feeling overall then? Because obviously such a high, like that's what you said, technically. Like they proved themselves the best in the world on the final day. Like.
They did, and you got to remember, you have to go with Tom. Tom would know probably more about this than me. Michael Drynan has had top 6 and top 7 finish in Europeans, and I think he has a top 7 finish in the world.
I think he does, yeah.
Yeah, so he's a lad who's been very high up in the past, so he just didn't get the beats, but he never dropped the head. He was there for the team, fighting because we knew this was the best team we'd ever sent to a Worlds, we think.
Oh.
Because they had to improvise with the stockies. And they're capable of improvising. That's what makes it a little bit more special than if the fish are all wild browns. These lads can flick different switches and go different routes.
Or wild fish. Actually, just doesn't matter much, but would you prefer it if it wasn't stocked?
Yes.
Yeah.
Would we have done any better? I don't know. That's something we'll never know. But you see, with the stock fish, I knew if we got the beats, there wasn't a team in it that we couldn't match. I actually... Was I carried away? No, I wasn't carried away. And on day 5 proved it. I thought Scotland were winding us up because they were ahead of us the whole time. And I said, if we get the beats tomorrow, you can look at the back of our arse for the rest of Friday night, And we had some good crack with them, but that's what happened.
Yeah.
Can I ask you, Declan, like a couple of things I take from that is one is the promising talent that we have there.
Yeah, and
that this is something to build on for the next few years. So, but you're going up. You're always going to be going up against the bigger nations. So in terms of I don't think I think the mindset from what you're saying, Declan, of the lads, they know they can compete with the best.
Oh, yes. We have an elephant in the room, Dara.
Okay.
We're going to have a team in America next year, and Kieran Riley isn't on it, Mike Drynan isn't on it, Brian Russell isn't on it, and Dennis O'Leary isn't on it.
Why not?
Because they didn't qualify.
Based on what?
A one-day qualifying system.
The qualifying system, which we're working. Yes, we're working very hard to change it. It's been met with resistance, but what we have got in this year is we weed out people that don't feel they're up to the Worlds anymore. For argument's sake, I'm 58 now. I would love to fish in other Worlds, but for argument's sake, I qualified for the Europeans this year. But I stepped aside. Shane Callan stepped aside. He couldn't fish it, and I stepped aside. I stepped aside because I reckoned Éanna O'Leary will probably do a better job. Well, whether he do a better job or not, he might. We don't know. But he's a young lad of 21 or 2. Get him in there.
And this, I think we spoke about this last year, Declan, wasn't it? Like in the sense of other countries do a league system.
We have 4. Tom, we have this thing now where you pick whether you want the Worlds, Europeans, or that. So some of the older lads are saying, I don't want the Worlds or Europeans. I'll do the 5 Nations or something for a bit of crack. I might do the Masters. So we're starting to get, you can probably see we're getting bigger bunches of young teams now. Because even the team going to America is quite young. But in the river this year, we're going where there's no controllers. We control one another, and we're having 2 days on the river, which means 4 sessions. Now, 4 sessions means...
Is this the first time that's been done?
This is the first time.
That's good, yeah.
We trialed it in Leinster this year with just to do the angler on angler over 1 day.
Yeah.
But there'll be 4 sessions now, which will mean someone can't fluke a session and hang in there and make a team. You're going to have to produce over 4 sessions. And that gives you a better chance of getting the better guys through.
Well, the whole idea of that is that the better anglers will come through.
Yes, and you want them through. And
you really do, yeah.
It's not elitism. There's a few of us doing a lot of work in Taffy at the moment. And what's the point if we can't send off a proper team? You just go and say, come on. Let's get rid of the 40-year-old rule or the 30-year-old rule.
Is this going to be a slow burner that'll just take time to change?
Well, I hope it's not that slow, because I tell you, I won't hang around for it, and I'm sure there's other lads won't hang around for it to be that slow. But we want some of the young people to come into Taffy now. Really,
I didn't.
What?
I didn't. I had a document. A couple of us had a document ready 20 years ago, and it was thrown away. I'll never forget that. Yeah. I was involved with it.
Rules. They didn't even want to consider it.
No, I think you touched on it there, Dec, when you said, that's elitist.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But that's 20 years ago. That's moved on since then, thankfully.
We're fighting harder on this now. We're not backing down.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a second? What's the younger generation's thoughts on it? Would they like to see that kind of league system?
I think so.
What does Sean Dempsey think?
Sean Dempsey does. Kieran Riley does. A lot of the young lads I've been talking to do. A lot of the young lads talk to me. I know what they're thinking, and they do agree with, and I agree with them.
What it comes from it, and what stems from, let's say, 6 last year, top 10 this year, but like on the final day, as you said, Ireland were the best team in the world. That's great for us here. That's great for us back in Ireland. We can, it is fantastic. And that's what we want our teams to be doing when they go abroad. So that's why we should be sending the best teams. Do you know what I mean? Or should be striving to.
I would love to take the guts of that team somewhere else. I would love to take maybe some of that team and mix it with some other anglers that I have in the back of my head. But you can't handpick teams, because that causes distaste and taffy.
No. Yeah. Well, you see, and I can understand that, because, and I actually can understand that handpicking teams doesn't work either. And I think the argument that was used against new systems and everything was, you're handpicking. But you see, you aren't handpicking, right? You're actually just creating a system where the better anglers will come to the top.
But that's
not handpicking. But it was levied back at people who are trying to change the system. I know you only want to handpick a team. No.
Yeah, no, and I'd even go a step further. I'd say there's 6 if you count a sub, if a sub wants to go, and there's 6 in the Europeans. I'd go as far as saying have a panel of 12, and maybe the 2 that are just outside 14 for the year, and have them all training. And force these training days that have to turn up with them. Be reasonable, but force maybe 4 or 5 training days where they have to turn up with them. But you might decide that Finland doesn't suit us, but Spain does. And the Europeans is in Spain and the Worlds is in Finland. Then send your strongest team to the European and see can you medal. Now, the team that was in France last year, people might argue, Sean argued about it, I think that team might have medalled in Poland in the Europeans. because our anglers were better than a lot of the other European teams that were sent there.
So, Declan, what you're saying is it's a squad system nearly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in all fairness, I mean, that's done on the ITFFA Lakes team.
Of course it is. And if
that's done on and it's choosing, there's a squad of 28, and the two internationals are looked at, and the one that they feel is the best medal choice, the team will be picked for that medal chance. Yeah.
It's simple. I mean, Declan Conlon fished in Spain the last time, and I just found the knees weren't working well enough to even be there. Like, if I was on a squad, Dara would be the captain there. Somebody said, Declan, there's one in Finland where it's mostly lakes. It's the European. You're going there, Declan. And if you're anyway with a bit of cop on, Declan just agrees. Yeah, Dara, you're right. I'm more suited to that. Because I can go on to Loughlin this year and go down there and be lucky enough and come in the top 3 or 4 in the national. And if that happens, I'm on a World or Europeans team. Does that make it correct? Probably not.
Yeah. Doesn't it make just obvious sense that, in the sense, if you want to find the best, it should be about, over a course of time, like a league system. It's just hard to fathom the kind of opposition to it. I can understand it from this traditional conservative.
Well, I've said it before. The first time I ever fished a river competition in my life, ever,
was in the Worlds.
Was a session in the World Championship.
Yeah.
Seriously, yeah.
Well, look,
I didn't blank. I remember I had a couple of graylings. I didn't disgrace myself, but still,
But I bet Reddy Coops took one look at you and he said, "My God, look at that guy's hair." I'm going.
You have no memory. I used to have a Blade 1 back then.
You really?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, Blade 1 and a Blade 2 for Tombo. No.
Like a Marine.
Yeah, that was it. Oh, yeah.
That was the rave days, wasn't it, Tom?
Yeah. Train spotting was his favourite.
Yeah. I think we're losing the run of ourselves here, lads.
Speaking of the Dempseys and Frank, as you know, Sean did a lot of good work with the ITFFA there for the first couple of years when they start winning them goals.
Yeah.
He's moved on now, and he's after taking over the youths who are on their way out to Idaho in the USA, all in close proximity to Yellowstone Park. Isn't that like something you'd win on the Late Late Show? And they're heading out there and they're trying to raise money. Now, there's a lot of clubs out there. If you could even convince clubs to buy a ticket, they could have a boat on their favourite lake, They're 50 quid a ticket. There's going to be a draw to help send all these young lads out and get them a proper bit of guiding and just help the team prepare properly. So when they go out there, I believe it'll be like heaven. They're going to be fishing sectors in 3 states, Idaho, Montana, and Wyoming. There's Heckman Lake, Sheridan Lake, the Snake River at Henry's Fork, which we've read about, Warm River and Grays River, which I've read about. And the team travelling is Sean Dempsey and Frank, Adam Adcock, Keane Hayes, Henry Suter, Jacob Griffin, Lewis Porter, and Zach Bennett. So they're having this raffle. And if you contact Frank Dempsey, there's details up on the Taffy Facebook page in relation to these tickets, or they can contact me on Facebook or anything. But 50 quid, lads. There's some good prizes. There's a Gantley Lake boat.
It's a Gantley Lake boat, yeah. Great boat. Yeah.
There's Grace Kite fishing rods and reels. There's Piscari fly Venator nymphing rods. There's Water Snake, electric engines, one night B&B, Drummond Hall, Killarney, B&B Hudson Bay Hotel, Crover House Hotel, €150 voucher from Rory's Fishing Tackle, entry to the LSCPA, that's the Loch Sheelan competition in October, and €100 voucher for Premier Angling. There's total prize value of 6,700 in prizes, and even if clubs bought one, sure, who knows? They can use a prize if they win it as a prize or a boat. I mean, a boat on your favourite lake, lads.
And when's the draw, Declan?
The draw is taking place on June the 21st.
That's 2.5 weeks. So what we'll do is we'll put up the copy. I know we did a post on it a couple of weeks ago.
Back in March, but it's no harm to put up.
We'll repost it.
Rerun it.
Yeah, we'll put up the copy. We'll put up the link.
There's just a few tickets there left. On and it's so hard for youngsters and some parents. It's a big pull on them because a lot of these parents now, these are leaving certs, getting ready to go to college, and it's a big draw on the parents. It's a big sacrifice.
And who knows? We'll have, considering how well the generation now is doing of Irish fly anglers, this could be the next Pierre Kuntz, the next Pater O'Kuntz that become and fly.
My God, let's stop.
No pressure, lads. No pressure. But from what you're saying, Declan, like just to kind of, I suppose, round it up is, okay, so we got 10th overall. We got the best in the world on the final day.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the talent, the potential is there. We just need a few more of the stars to align in terms of maybe the system, the money, and we're actually not that far off. We're knocking on the door. So let's open it. Let's kick it down.
I started fishing these. I was late coming to the scene, but I was fishing a few of these 2014, 2016, 2018, whatever, 2019, 2020. And the level that these boys are playing at now has moved up a serious notch. It has moved up a serious. You won't get away with any laziness or sloppiness now. They're going to the nth degree with their lines, their leaders, their presentation, their gear. This has really stepped up a notch, and we're up there. Our lads are up there.
Just to come there, you just touched on it again. I think the last day that you said there to finish, that is a fantastic accolade. On that day, Ireland were the best team in the world. Okay, it's it doesn't count. It doesn't win anything, but
No.
It just goes to show that the potential is there.
Yeah, and it copper fastened what I believed. It made me feel, well, okay, I believed in them. Now other people can see maybe what I saw when I was with them, because I didn't want people not to see it.
Yeah.
It meant a lot to me, and because I know it meant a lot to them lads. I've gone on a journey with them, and they're great anglers and great at off. And the attitude all week, Tom, Dara, unbelievable.
The future is bright. It's in good hands. What's big, Declan? What are you, the Mick O'Dwyer of Irish flying and the? No,
maybe what was that? What didn't Paddy O'Shea win a Leinster with Westmeath? Maybe that would be. No offense to Westmeath, lads, because I'm a member of all their clubs down there. My favourite county.
Come here, before you go, I just want to give a mention as well. And I haven't got a chance to sit down and watch them. I only watched the first one before it happened, but Joe was out with the end of the videos. So I'm hoping to sit down when I have a bit of time once the Mayfly's over and have a look at them.
Yeah, before I go, I had no idea the amount of work you have to put in to do this kind of stuff. Dara probably understands it, and yourself to it.
Dara understands it a lot better than me.
There is some work. This guy was night, noon, and morning doing stuff, and with some lovely, funny little clips. I don't know if he's put them all up with some great situations.
But they're out. Yeah, but they're out there to watch anyway. Even so,
they're out to watch. You should subscribe to Joe's channel because he just brings an ordinary man's view to angling. Doesn't take himself seriously, but he's sitting a boat with him, all right. He's a bit competitive.
Well, listen, I'll include the link anyway for Joe's channel as well in the show notes, as well as the details for that fundraising draw for the youths as well. Declan, hopefully we'll catch up later in the season with you. And listen, it's always a pleasure chatting to you. And look, I think we ended on a high note in terms of the trajectory for Irish fly angling for the future.
Yeah, we're on the right path. And look, thanks, lads. It's always a pleasure. You do a great show.
Our thanks to Dec for joining us on the show. And don't forget to rate, review and follow the Irish on the Fly podcast on Apple, Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts from.
Plus you can keep up to date on IrelandOnTheFly.com as well as on Instagram, and myself and Tom will be back with another episode about the people and places of fly fishing in Ireland.